I saw that.
What?
It's nice now instead of ice.
So now you're protesting nice.
It's national. Immigrations, customs, enforcement.
He's done it again.
That reminds me.
Brilliant. Man,
Shit.
our leader.
That's funny.
He's a wild boy.
Still funny.
That is funny, calling it nice. Is your thing about to go off? Is that where you're stopping
I
it?
just realized I left my kid in a Somali daycare.
Why can't we do that?
I bet if they took all the money from fraud, it would pay for health care 10 times
Or
over.
Ukraine or Israel.
Oh, yeah.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Right.
Well, that's what's annoying. All these politicians are like, if we get this
Afghanistan,
much money, we can
Iraq,
cure this.
Yemen.
I'm
So
like,
let me
you
ask you
have all
this.
this money.
Joe Rogan brought up Trump renaming ICE to NICE. Said it like it was the funniest thing he'd heard all week. He's got that excited energy, leaning in, waiting for the room to follow him. And the room just didn't.
I saw that.
What?
It's nice now instead of ice.
So now you're protesting nice.
It's national. Immigrations, customs, enforcement.
He's done it again.
That reminds me.
Brilliant.
Man,
Shit.
our leader.
That's funny.
He's a wild boy.
Still funny.
That is funny, calling it nice. Is your thing about to go off? Is that where you're stopping
I
it?
just realized I left my kid in a Somali daycare.
That silence or near silence from a room full of professional comedians is more telling than anything anyone in that room actually said. Because these are guys who will laugh at literally anything that's actually funny. They're not withholding out of principle. They're withholding because the Trump material isn't landing anymore. And Joe keeps trying it anyway, like he's convinced the signal is still strong when everyone in the room can hear the static. That's where things are right now, and it's getting harder to miss. Okay, let's get into the full picture here, because there are actually two things happening simultaneously, and together, they tell a bigger story than either one alone. First, there's Protect Our Parks, 16 JRE, episode 2493, which dropped literally 5 days ago. Shane Gillis, Mark Normand, Ari Shaffir, the whole crew, same format as always. Except this time, whenever Rogan steered the conversation toward Trump, the energy in the room did something it hasn't really done before. It flatlined.
That are hooked on pills are going to get off of them. A lot of them are, at least. It's going to at least give them something that works.
How are they going to get it?
How come we can't get free health care?
Yeah, right?
Why don't
What
we
the
do
hell?
that?
I'm paying out the
Yeah.
ass.
Why can't we do that?
I bet if they took all the money from fraud, it would pay for health care 10 times
Or
over.
Ukraine or Israel.
Oh, yeah.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Right.
Well, that's what's annoying. All these politicians are like, if we get this
Afghanistan,
much money, we can
Iraq,
cure this.
Yemen.
I'm
So
like,
let me ask
you
you
have all
this.
this money.
Shane asked why they can't get free healthcare with the same casual energy someone uses to ask why they can't get extra guac. No performance, no big statement, just genuinely, why not? And that question, asked in that tone, in that room, is actually a pretty significant thing. Because Rogan had just been in the Oval Office. He got Trump to sign an Ibogaine executive order overnight, literally texted him. Trump said, let's do it. It was done the next day. That's real access. That's a working phone number. And Shane sat there and said, okay, cool. So why can't we use that for healthcare? Which Rogan didn't have a clean answer to, because there isn't one. The Ibogaine thing is worth understanding properly before we go further, because it's not nothing. Veterans with PTSD, people with opioid addiction, Ibogaine research has been blocked for decades because of the Schedule I classification, and Rogan has been pushing for this for years. He got Trump to fast-track FDA review and direct $50 million in federal funding toward it. That's genuinely good news for a lot of people. But Shane's question cuts through the celebration. If you have that kind of access, if the president is responding to your texts and signing things overnight, what else could you push for? What are you choosing not to bring up?
3.0 to 3.2 trillion annually. Oh.
That's a lot.
Which is actually less than the current system that costs around $5.3 trillion per year. So we're talking about a savings of almost 50%.
Why don't we get free health care?
So
Yeah.
a savings of $450 billion annually while providing coverage to all Americans, according to Perplexity, our AI sponsor, which is never wrong. The United States currently spends about $5.3 trillion in healthcare, $15,474 per person as of 2024.
Even when something goes
Wow.
wrong and you have insurance, it's not paid for.
No.
You gotta,
They actually put it into Perplexity, which is one of Joe's show sponsors, by the way. And Perplexity came back with something Joe clearly didn't want to hear. Universal healthcare in America would cost about $3 trillion a year. The current system costs $5.3 trillion. That's a savings of over $2 trillion annually while covering everybody. Joe's AI sponsor just made the case for free healthcare live on his podcast. And Joe's immediate response was to become skeptical of the AI. The same AI he relies on every episode. The same AI he described as never being wrong. The moment it produced a result that created a problem for the narrative he was comfortable with, suddenly it needed verification. Shane noticed. He didn't say anything dramatic about it. He just kept the pressure on. He doubled back to healthcare, said it's embarrassing, said nothing's really being done about it. The healthcare conversation is really just the most visible version of a dynamic that's been building across the last few Protect Our Parks episodes. Rogan brings something Trump-adjacent to the table, frames it positively, and waits for the room to match his energy. And increasingly, they don't. Mark Norman sort of floats along. Ari is happy to be in the room. But Shane is the interesting one here, because Shane is the only person in that green room who genuinely does not need Joe Rogan for anything.
And they're like, bro, calm down.
It's hilarious.
The black jokes go hard.
The black jokes go
They
hard.
do.
But hey, it's a roast. This is what we want to see.
I know, but I gotta go fucking first.
That's true.
Yeah, the emceeing is tough because you haven't emceed in forever.
But is Kevin
It's
Hart
definitely
going to
not
be
like
there?
MC.
Shane said the mothership crowd is full of people who paid good money to hear racist jokes, and then added that even the mothership crowd tells comedians to calm down sometimes. That's a very specific kind of call-out. And it's one that would have gotten a real reaction from Rogan if literally anyone else in the world had said it. Mark Maron said something vaguely similar once, and Rogan talked about it for weeks. Shane says it, and Rogan fake laughs it off, because he has no choice. Shane moved to Austin, he's a regular at the mothership, and he is currently on every level that matters bigger than anything Rogan adjacent. Beautiful Dogs on Netflix, Tires on Netflix, The ESPYs. Matt and Shane's secret podcast has its own massive audience. Joe needs Shane more than Shane needs Joe, and that changes what Shane can say in that room, and he's using that position. Then there's the Epstein thing, which came up in the same episode and is maybe the most uncomfortable part of the whole conversation. Rogan said out loud that no one's gone to jail from the Epstein files, that it's surprising, that nothing's happened since the release.
Pretty surprising that they're
Here's
still
what's
not
crazy.
releasing it.
Here's what's crazy. No arrests. No one's like being brought in. Meanwhile, Comey is getting arrested for a photo of seashells that say 8647.
He's getting arrested for that?
What's
he's getting
86?
charged.
What's 8647?
And the thing about that observation is Joe has Trump's number. He was in the Oval Office 3 weeks ago. He got an Ibogaine executive order done in less than 24 hours. If the Epstein files are sitting there and nothing's happening, and Joe is that close to the source, why is he bringing this up on a podcast instead of in the actual conversation he apparently has access to? That's the question nobody said directly, but it was sitting in the room. Now, while all of this was happening on JRE, Tim Dillon was doing something completely different on his own show. And Tim Dillon has to be mentioned here, because Rogan listens to Tim's podcast front to back every single week. Not occasionally, every week. So whatever Tim puts out, Joe is going to hear it. Tim dropped episode 493 of The Tim Dillon Show, titled The Palantir Manifesto and My Manifesto. And buried inside it was a fully performed sketch with a paid actor playing a veteran named Mike, who took Ibogaine.
Unbelievable. So you feel comfortable today with killing on a level that maybe you've never felt before.
Absolutely.
This is unreal. Just to hear it from someone, because you imagine what these things could do, these new drugs that Big Pharma doesn't want us knowing about.
Of course.
But you hear from the horse's mouth how impactful this has been.
The bit is pitch-perfect parody. Mike went through this 72-hour trip and came out the other side with no guilt, no hesitation, complete peace with everything he did in combat. Tim asks, "So you feel comfortable today with killing on a level you've never felt before?" Mike says no shame, no guilt, no mercy, no hesitation. Tim says, "Unbelievable." The point of the bit is obvious when you sit with it for a second. If Ibogaine removes the psychological processing of what you've done, the guilt, the moral reckoning, all of it, what does that actually produce? Is that healing, or is it compliance? Is a veteran who no longer feels anything about what happened in Iraq actually better off, or just more available for the next deployment? Tim didn't answer that question. He just performed it and left it sitting there.
Rogan was in the White House recently announcing the FDA approval of Ibogaine. It is a new drug used to cure opioid addiction and post-traumatic stress disorder. And a lot of ex-military are using this. A lot of veterans are talking about the tremendous benefits in their life that they are seeing from using this. And not a lot of people know about the drug. I had no idea what it was. So joining me today is a veteran that is taking Ibogaine. Mike, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Of course. Mike, tell me, what What is Ibogaine?
Rogan saw that. He definitely saw it. He listens every week. And the sketch is a direct, unmistakable response to the Oval Office Ibogaine event, the thing Rogan was visibly proud of, the thing he's been promoting as a huge win. Tim built a whole character around it and used that character to raise questions about whether the win is actually what it looks like. That's not beef. Tim and Joe aren't beefing, but it is a very specific thing to do the week after your friend was on national television standing next to the president talking about this exact drug. What's interesting about both Shane and Tim is how they're doing this. Neither of them is coming out and saying Joe Rogan is wrong, or compromised, or lost. There's no public statement. No tweet calling him out. No episode where someone sits down and explains their concerns. It's happening through the material, through questions that don't get clean answers, through bits that make the Ibogaine celebration look complicated, through a room full of comedians who don't laugh at the Trump stuff anymore.
That was one thing he was trying to do.
It kind of blows. It's embarrassing.
All right, let's put it this.
Right?
How much would it cost if school, like higher education, was free?
That's too much money in that. They won't do it.
Well, that's the same exact thing with healthcare.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
They make a fortune.
subsidized.
We're making
That's
too
where we're
much,
at
so
as a country. It's all,
And it's
I mean,
gone
it's the
up.
same reason we're doing wars.
Yeah.
Money?
just to make money.
Of course.
The
There's
oil?
nothing else.
I
Not
thought it
even
was-
just oil, but defense contracts. They need.
That's the part that's most telling in Protect Our Parks 16. When things got serious, when Shane got into healthcare being embarrassing, into wars being about defense contracts, into everything being a giant scam, Rogan's response was to try to get silly, to crack a joke and move on. And Shane just continued, didn't let it turn into a bit, didn't follow Rogan into the redirect. That's not how this dynamic has worked in previous episodes. The room used to follow Joe. Now the room is making Joe follow it. And then there's the green room thing, which is almost a side note but actually explains a lot about how we got here. On the same episode, Rogan talked about how they prefer to stay in the private green room after shows rather than go into Mitzi's bar. They wait until all the regular people clear out, then they come in. Because the hang is everything, and the hang doesn't work when there are normals around.
After
Yeah.
11
Yeah.
That's nice.
Always lose my voice in there, though.
Oh,
Same. Well, Tony's chain
Tony's
smoking like a
fucking
fucking old
smoking
lady.
He's chain smoking, everybody's
Like a
drinking,
fucking
there's great
queen.
music playing.
He's like, I'll tell you.
Tony needs a cigarette
You need to
extender.
listen to me.
Virginia Slims.
His ability to write roast jokes is extraordinary.
Yeah.
He said once the regular people are out, like it was the most natural thing in the world. No self-awareness, no pause. Just, yeah, they wait for the crowd to leave so they can have the bar to themselves. This is the guy who spent a decade positioning himself as the working man's podcast, the voice that regular people trusted because he felt like one of them. And now he's casually describing how he avoids regular people at his own venue. That bubble is real, and it's the thing that makes the healthcare conversation and the Epstein conversation land so flatly. Because Rogan isn't pretending to be in the same world as the people he's talking about. He's in the green room. Look, none of this means Joe Rogan is finished. That would be ridiculous. The man has the most listened to podcast on earth. He got a sitting president to sign an executive order based on a text message. That's a kind of influence most people can't even conceptualize. But there's something shifting in the room around him. And the room in this case is people who know him, who perform with him, who sit across from him every few weeks and have a real conversation. Not his audience, not his critics, his people.
Maybe next time we schmooze him into free healthcare.
Maybe next time we schmooze him into a Protect Our Parks.
Yeah, we got
Imagine Trump being in
Yo,
here.
brother. Let's do free healthcare.
Come on, dog.
Yeah.
It's crazy, too, because there was a pill I had to get like 3 of.
Shane is asking why they can't use the access for healthcare. Tim is performing a dark parody of the thing Joe is publicly celebrating. The room isn't following Joe into the Trump material anymore. And Joe doesn't seem to fully notice, or he notices and just keeps going anyway, which is its own kind of answer. The interesting question isn't whether this keeps happening. It will. The interesting question is how long before it becomes something Joe has to acknowledge directly, rather than laugh off.
Joe Rogan was in the White House recently announcing the FDA approval of Ibogaine. It is a new drug used to cure opioid addiction and post-traumatic stress disorder. And a lot of ex-military are using this. A lot of veterans are talking about the tremendous benefits in their life that they are seeing from using this. And not a lot of people know about the drug. I had no idea what it was.
Tim Dillon made a character who feels completely fine with everything that would normally haunt him, and described that as liberation. There's something in that image that applies outside the bit.
Yeah, we got
Trump being in here.
Yo, brother. Let's do free healthcare.
Come on, dog.
Yeah.
It's crazy, too, because there was a pill I had to get like 3 of. when I went to Asia or something, and it was like I got 2 here. They cost me like $400 each, and then it's the same drug in
Right.
Myanmar. It's like $40.
Well,
Maybe next time we smooth him into free healthcare. He turned the whole conversation, 40 minutes of real frustration from Shane about healthcare, wars, corruption, defense contracts, into a punchline about next time. And the room laughed, politely, and moved on. That's probably the most Joe Rogan thing that's happened in a while.